Beloved, today I speak over your life with authority, clarity, and divine conviction, because this is the moment heaven has appointed for your peace to rise, your mind to settle, and your spirit to breathe again. You have carried the weight long enough. You have wrestled with storms that were never meant to destroy you, but to awaken the strength God placed inside you. Today is not just another Thursday. This is a divine appointment, a holy interruption where God steps into the chaos and whispers, "Be still. I am with you." When worry tries to take root in your heart, remember that you serve the one who commands the winds and the waves. Stress loses its authority the moment you recognize that the peace of God is not fragile, not conditional, not limited. His peace is a fortress, unshakable, immovable, and available to you right now. You don't need to strive for it. You simply need to open the door and receive it. This moment is not accidental, not random, not just another pause in your day. This moment is divinely orchestrated, intentionally arranged by heaven, and wrapped in the quiet assurance that God has been waiting for you right here. When life becomes overwhelming and the noise of the world grows louder than your own thoughts, God steps in and creates a sacred space for you to breathe and reset. He positions you in a place where his presence becomes undeniable and his peace becomes unavoidable. You may have walked through storms that drained you, battles that weakened you, and worries that stole your rest. But even in all of that, Haven has been preparing this moment for you to encounter peace in a new way. God has a habit of meeting his people at the very intersection of exhaustion and surrender. Right when you feel like you have nothing left to give, he shows you that he is not asking for your strength, he is offering his. This moment is holy because it invites you to release what has been gripping your heart and receive what God has been holding for you. His peace is not something you must earn or chase. It is a gift woven into his love, extended to you every time your spirit begins to tremble. Even now, peace begins to settle over you like a gentle covering, not because everything around you is fixed, but because God is reminding you that he is still in control. You may have spent days, weeks, or even months wrestling with worry, trying to figure out solutions, trying to hold everything together with your own limited strength. But God never intended for you to carry the weight of what only he is strong enough to handle. This moment is a divine invitation to stop striving, to stop rehearsing worst case scenarios, to stop letting fear narrate your future. God is opening the door for you to step into stillness, to sit in his presence, and to let your soul exhale. He knows what you've been facing, and he knows how deeply you need his peace to anchor you again. Sometimes peace doesn't come because your circumstances change, but because you've changed. And this moment is where that transformation begins. God speaks into the chaos of your heart the same way he spoke into the void at the beginning of time. His words still create. His voice still calms. His presence still heals. When he appoints a moment for peace, everything in heaven aligns to ensure that peace finds you, fills you, and begins to reshape the way you see your situation. The storms around you may continue to swirl, but the storm within you begins to quiet. Every time God appoints a moment like this, it is because he sees what you cannot. He sees the battles ahead, the victories waiting for you, and the strength you will need to step into the next season. Peace is not a pause, it is preparation. It is the foundation upon which your next breakthrough will stand. When God calls you into peace, he is strengthening your mind, fortifying your spirit, and reminding you that you are not walking through life alone. His peace is evidence that he is near, that he is attentive, and that he is guiding your steps with purpose. You may not have expected today to be significant. You may not have anticipated that something inside you would shift, but God often moves in the moments we least expect. He visits the quiet corners of our day and breathes peace into the places where anxiety once lived. He settles the questions, calms the fears, and lifts the pressure that has been pressing on your chest. Even now, his presence is lifting the heaviness, dismantling the tension, and reminding your heart that it is safe to rest in him. There is something powerful about recognizing divine timing. When you understand that God himself has arranged this moment for your peace, you stop resisting and begin receiving. You stop clinging to what hurts you and start holding on to what heals you. His peace is not fragile. It does not waver. It does not fade in the presence of difficulty. It stands firm, steady, and strong, carrying you through disappointment, uncertainty, and fear. When God declares peace over your life, nothing and no one can overturn that decree. This moment is also a reminder of how deeply God loves you. He sees when your smile hides exhaustion. He sees when your responsibilities demand more than your strength. He sees when your heart aches quietly in the background of your life. And instead of letting you drown under the weight of it all, he pulls you into his presence and calls you into rest. His appointed moment for peace proves that he is attentive to the details of your life, concerned about the condition of your heart, and intentional about pouring renewal into your spirit. Allow yourself to feel the shift happening inside you. Let the peace that God has ordained for this moment wash over your mind and quiet the noise within. Let it take root in the deepest parts of your being, replacing tension with calm, anxiety with assurance, and fear with trust. This is not a temporary relief, but divine realignment. God is setting your spirit back into harmony with his promises, reshaping your thoughts to reflect his truth, and recentering your heart on his presence. Every breath you take right now is a reminder that you are stepping into the peace God prepared specifically for you. His timing is perfect. His intentions for you are good, and his presence brings a stillness that nothing in this world can replicate. When God appoints a moment for peace, it becomes a turning point, a shift in your spiritual atmosphere where strength returns, clarity rises, and your soul remembers who it belongs to. God's peace is not delicate or dependent on circumstances. It is a fortress built by divine hands, established long before your challenges ever appeared. Many people think peace is something that comes only when life is quiet, when problems are resolved, or when everything feels under control. But true peace does not wait for perfection. True peace is not an emotional reaction. It is a spiritual force that stands firm even when everything around you feels unstable. The peace God gives is not meant to be temporary relief. It is meant to be a permanent place where your soul can rest even in the middle of the storm. When God speaks of peace, he does not describe a fleeting feeling or a moment of comfort. He describes an unshakable reality, a place of security that cannot be penetrated by fear, worry, or anxiety. This peace guards your mind like a shield and protects your heart like a wall fortified with divine power. It refuses to bow to circumstances. It refuses to crumble under pressure. It refuses to be stolen by the uncertainties of life. This peace is a gift that comes directly from the one who never changes. And because he does not change, neither does the stability of the peace he brings. You may feel tension rising inside you, thoughts racing, and emotions pulling you in different directions. But God's peace stands in the middle of it all like a steady tower, refusing to let the chaos consume you. Even when your situation feels unpredictable, his peace remains constant. Even when you feel overwhelmed, his peace becomes your anchor. Even when fear tries to gain ground, his peace becomes your resistance. You are not relying on your own strength to stay calm. You are relying on the supernatural strength of God's presence surrounding you. This kind of peace does not arrive softly. It arrives with authority. It steps into the confusion and declares order. It steps into anxiety and declares rest. It steps into fear and declares courage. It steps into stress and declares stillness. It is not a whisper. It is a spiritual force that quiets the noise within you and reassures your heart that everything is held in God's hands. You may feel like you are falling apart, but this peace is the reason you don't. It catches you. It stabilizes you. It holds you together in ways you cannot explain. There will be days when your emotions swing, when your thoughts attempt to sabotage your peace, and when your circumstances seem louder than your faith. But God's peace does not depend on the volume of the world. It depends on the authority of heaven. That's why it can stand firm even when life feels unstable. It is rooted in God's word, not in the shifting conditions of your surroundings. It is grounded in eternal truth, not in temporary experiences. Is anchored in his promises, which cannot be broken. Think of all the moments you expected peace to come from progress, from solutions, from clarity, or from other people. Yet every time those things shifted, your peace shifted with them. But when peace comes from God, it remains steady because it does not rely on anything external. It flows from within because God himself resides within you. This means no person can take it away, no circumstance can interrupt it, and no storm can overpower it. It is built on the foundation of something unmovable, God's faithfulness. As you walk through situations that challenge your mind, remember that you have access to peace that does not weaken under pressure. You have access to a peace that strengthens you rather than drains you. You have access to a peace that carries you instead of collapsing with you. This peace gives you the ability to navigate life with clarity, to respond instead of react, and to remain grounded even when your emotions are unstable. It equips you to face challenges with confidence because you know you are protected from within. When stress tries to press against your thoughts, when fear attempts to take over your decisions, and when worry tries to distort your perspective, God's peace rises like a barrier. It creates distance between you and the chaos. It refuses to let fear dominate your choices. It shields you from the weight of what you cannot control. It keeps your mind aligned with truth so that lies cannot take root. It becomes the quiet, steady assurance that everything will unfold according to God's purpose. This peace is not merely something you feel, it is something you live in. It is a spiritual environment, a realm of safety, a sanctuary for your soul. You step into it the moment you invite God to take his rightful place at the center of your thoughts. You dwell in it the moment you stop giving anxiety permission to dictate your life. You strengthen it the moment you remind yourself who your peace comes from. And each time you choose to trust God over your feelings, your peace becomes stronger, wider, and more impenetrable. Even now, this fortress of peace surrounds you. It wraps around your mind, pushes back anxiety, calms the turbulence within you, and fills your heart with the assurance that God's presence is enough. You can breathe deeply knowing that peace is not fragile, not conditional, not easily disturbed. It is strong, it is steady, and it is available to you every moment you choose to embrace it. You were never created to carry the heaviest burdens alone. Yet life often convinces you that you must hold everything together with your own hands. The pressure to fix, to manage, to endure, and to stay strong weighs on your spirit until your thoughts become tangled in worry. But in this moment, you are being reminded that you have a place to release every burden into the hands of the one who never grows weary, who never becomes overwhelmed, and who never turns away from the weight you bring. What has been too heavy for you has never been too heavy for him, and the peace you seek begins with the willingness to let go. There are silent battles you have fought without telling anyone. There are fears you have carried behind your smile. There are responsibilities that have grown heavier with each passing day. Yet God has never expected you to manage life through your own strength. He has always invited you to place every burden, every doubt, every fear, and every overwhelming thought into his hands. When you release what has drained you, you make room for him to restore what has been lost within you. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of trust. It is the moment you decide that God is big enough, strong enough, wise enough, and loving enough to handle what you cannot. When you release your burdens, you are not giving up. You are giving God permission to step in. You are opening the door for divine intervention and divine wisdom and divine peace to take over where your strength has reached its limit. God cannot fill hands that are clenched in fear. He fills hands that are open in surrender. The burdens you carry often come with voices of doubt, voices of fear, voices of uncertainty. They whisper that if you let go, everything will fall apart. They push you to keep carrying what was never designed for your shoulders. But when you finally release those burdens, you silence the voices that have been draining your joy. You allow God's voice to rise above the noise, reminding you that He is the one who sustains you, protects you, guides you, and carries you through every storm. Every burden you release becomes an opportunity for God to reveal His strength. The heaviness you surrender becomes the space where His power moves. The fear you hand over becomes the doorway to peace. God does not ask you to pretend or to hide what overwhelms you. He asks you to bring it to Him exactly as it is, raw, heavy, messy, and real. Your honesty becomes the key that unlocks His peace. Your surrender becomes the bridge that leads you out of anxiety and into safety. There is nothing you have carried that God has not already prepared to lift from you. He sees the exhaustion behind your determination. He sees the pressure behind your responsibilities. He sees the silent weight behind your smile. And He calls you to release it, not some of it, not pieces of it, but all of it. The more you release, the more peace flows into your life. The more you loosen your grip, the more God strengthens you from within. Sometimes you hold on to burdens because you believe no one else will understand, but God does. Sometimes you hold on to them because you fear losing control, but God never loses control. Sometimes you hold on to them because carrying has become familiar, even when it's painful, but God is calling you into a new rhythm, one where your spirit is lighter, your mind is clearer, and your heart is freer because He is carrying what once crushed you. When you release your burdens into God's hands, something powerful happens. Your soul finally breathes. Your muscles loosen. Your thoughts stop racing. Your emotions begin to settle. Stress loses its grip. Worry weakens. Fear fades. There is a holy exchange that takes place. You give Him your heaviness, and He gives you His peace. You give Him your anxiety, and He gives you His assurance. You give Him your fear, and He gives you His courage. This exchange is not temporary, it is transformative. Each time you surrender what you cannot control, you take another step into freedom. Each time you open your hands and release your burdens, you break the cycle of fear that once dominated your mind. Each time you choose to trust God, you strengthen the foundation beneath your spirit. Surrender does not remove your responsibility. It removes your impossibility. It allows you to focus on what you can do while trusting God with what only He can do. Let this moment be the beginning of a new way of living. Let this be the moment where you stop carrying what was never meant for you and start resting in the strength that has always been available. God is ready to take every burden from you the moment you release it. His hands are steady. His heart is open. His peace is waiting. And all you need to do is let go. Fear often disguises itself as caution, logic, or preparation, but at its core, it is a voice designed to limit you, restrict you, and whisper lies that contradict everything God has spoken over your life. Fear attempts to magnify the unknown, exaggerate the impossible, and distort your perspective until you begin to question your own strength and purpose. But the moment you step into the presence of God's perfect love, fear begins to lose its power. God's love is not passive, it is powerful, intentional, and fierce. It surrounds you, protects you, lifts you, and silences every lie that fear has tried to plant in your mind. There are moments when fear creeps into your thoughts quietly, slipping in through your worries about the future or your uncertainties about the present. It wraps around your reasoning and tries to convince you that something terrible is waiting for you just ahead. But God's love meets that fear head on, confronting it with truth. His love declares that you are safe, that you are covered, and that you are never facing anything alone. It reminds you that you are held in hands that have never dropped you, protected by a presence that has never abandoned you. Sometimes fear grows louder during seasons of transition, change, or pressure. It tries to convince you that stepping into the unknown will destroy you. It tries to tell you that you are not enough, not capable, not ready. But God's perfect love dismantles those narratives. His love tells you that you are equipped, that you are supported, and that you are moving under the guidance of a God who sees the full picture. His love frees you from the belief that you must navigate the future alone. It assures you that every step you take is covered by His wisdom and His protection. Fear often attacks your identity. It tries to make you question your worth, your calling, your strength, and your potential. It tries to replay old insecurities and past failures. It tries to resurrect old wounds and make them feel fresh again. But God's love speaks louder than fear. His love affirms who you are in Him. It reminds you that you are chosen, valued, strengthened, and destined for purpose. It washes over every insecurity with assurance, reminding you that nothing about your identity is defined by fear. It is defined by God. As you walk through life, fear may attempt to rise, but God's love rises higher. It surrounds your heart like a shield, protecting you from the emotional chaos that fear tries to bring. It covers your mind like armor, preventing fear driven thoughts from settling in and taking root. His love stands guard over your soul, refusing to allow fear to dictate your decisions or shape your future. Fear may try to intimidate you, but God's love empowers you to stand firm and move forward with courage. There are fears you've carried for years, silent anxieties, hidden dread, unspoken worries. They linger in the back of your mind, affecting your confidence and shaping your expectations. But God's perfect love penetrates even the deepest layers of fear. It goes into the hidden rooms of your heart, shining light where fear has tried to operate in darkness. It brings healing to places you've tried to ignore and comfort to wounds you never fully addressed. His love does not rush you, it restores you. Fear becomes powerless when you recognize that God's love is constant. It does not fluctuate based on your performance or your emotions. His love remains steady when you feel uncertain, strong when you feel weak, and present when you feel alone. It is a love that does not fade during difficulty. It does not retreat during pressure. It does not diminish during hardship. This love is a force, protective, powerful, and unwavering. It gives you the confidence to face every situation with assurance instead of anxiety. Every time fear tries to speak, God's love speaks louder. Every time fear tries to convince you that you are in danger, His love reminds you that you are surrounded. Every time fear tries to push you into panic, His love pulls you back into peace. You begin to see that fear has no authority where love is present. It cannot lead you, cannot dictate your choices, and cannot shape your destiny. God's love fills your heart with the certainty that you are guided, protected, and held by a power greater than anything you face. When you begin to fully embrace God's love, your perspective changes. You stop anticipating disaster and start expecting grace. You stop predicting failure and start believing in favor. You stop bracing for the worst and begin trusting for the best. Fear no longer becomes the lens through which you see life. Instead, love becomes your filter, love that reassures, restores, uplifts, and strengthens your spirit. You begin to walk with a new confidence because you are no longer driven by fear but led by love. Let this truth settle in your heart. Fear is no match for God's perfect love. It does not have permission to control your mind, direct your steps, or influence your future. His love has already gone ahead of you, clearing the path and preparing the way. It surrounds you right now, pushing back fear and filling you with a peace that fear cannot imitate. His love is stronger, deeper, and more powerful than anything that tries to rise against you. There comes a point in every journey where God calls you to rise, not in your own strength, not with your own understanding, but through a renewed confidence that comes from his presence working within you. This kind of rising is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, internal, and deeply spiritual. It begins with the quiet realization that you are not who you used to be. You have grown through battles that were meant to break you. You have matured through storms that forced you to rely on God more deeply. You have developed a resilience that could only come from walking through difficulty while being held by divine strength. Rising is not an act of pride, it is an act of obedience to the call God has placed on your life. There will always be moments when you feel unqualified, uncertain, or unprepared. But these are the moments where God whispers to your spirit that his power is made perfect in your weakness. Rising is not about having everything figured out. It is about stepping forward with faith even when the details are unclear. It is about trusting that God has already gone before you, opening doors you have not seen yet, and preparing opportunities that have your name on them. Every step you take becomes a declaration that you choose faith over fear, trust over hesitation, and obedience over comfort. Often, the reason God calls you to rise is because you have stayed in places you have outgrown. You have remained in mindsets that no longer serve your future. You have held onto habits, fears, or doubts that cannot go with you into the next season. Rising requires release. It requires letting go of the limitations you once accepted and allowing God to shape your identity according to his vision, not your past experiences. As you rise, you step into alignment with who God has always known you could become. Rising does not mean you will feel strong every day. Some days you will rise with trembling hands, shaky courage, and a heart still healing. But even then, God honors your willingness. Rising is not measured by how confident you feel, but by how willing you are to move. Every time you rise despite uncertainty, heaven calls it faith. Every time you rise despite opposition, heaven calls it obedience. Every time you rise despite fear, heaven calls it victory. Your rising is seen, celebrated, and strengthened by God. There will be moments when the enemy tries to pull you back into old patterns, old insecurities, or old battles. But when God calls you to rise, he equips you with a new mindset, a mindset grounded in victory rather than defeat. He strengthens your inner world so that external circumstances lose their ability to define you. As you rise, you begin to carry an inner authority that refuses to settle for less than what God has promised you. You become anchored in truth, and truth becomes the fuel that lifts you higher. Rising also requires courage to separate from anything that threatens your peace or purpose. It may mean stepping away from environments that drain you, conversations that discourage you, or relationships that keep you stagnant. It may mean letting go of familiar places in order to embrace the new. And while that can feel uncomfortable, it is necessary for your growth. God cannot elevate you in a place you were only meant to pass through. Rising means refusing to stay stuck in places that dim your light. As you rise, you begin to notice that clarity comes in moments of surrender. The more you release your grip on how you think things should happen, the more God reveals how he has already orchestrated the details. You start to realize that rising is not a single moment. It is a rhythm, a posture, a lifestyle. Every day you choose to trust God more than your worries, you rise. Every day you choose peace over anxiety, you rise. Every day you choose to believe his promises, you rise. Your rising is layered, continuous, and deeply transformative. There will be signs along the way that God is lifting you. Doors will open that no human effort could have opened. Strength will appear in moments you expected to break. Solutions will come to problems that once felt impossible. People will come into your life who pour into you instead of draining you. These signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations that your rising is divinely supported. Heaven is aligning everything necessary for your next season, and God is making sure you are equipped to walk in it boldly. As you rise, your perspective shifts. You begin to see challenges as training rather than punishment. You begin to see delays as preparation rather than denial. You begin to see transitions as divine repositioning rather than loss. Rising changes the way you interpret life because rising changes the way you see God's hand at work. You no longer view obstacles as the end of the story. You view them as the beginning of transformation. Your faith matures, your spirit strengthens, and your vision sharpens. This rising is not temporary. It is the start of a new chapter where you walk with deeper confidence, clearer purpose, and stronger faith. You rise because God has called you to rise. You rise because He has equipped you to rise. You rise because everything connected to your destiny requires you to stand tall, trust boldly, and move forward with a spirit that will not be shaken.